Hello, everyone. This the beginning of a Coptic series, or Coptic lesson series. This first video is just going to be like a short introduction Coptic, basically why I feel the need to teach this, as well as um, just like some of the simple background. Okay, so first, what is Coptic, right? So Coptic refers to both the writing system that's used, which is what most people think of, as well as the spoken language, or at least the writing system is what I usually think of. I don't know about most people, but like, yeah. So it's what people think of, right? But Coptic is both. It's the writing system and the spoken language. So if we look over here, right, spoken language development goes from Old Egyptian to Middle Egyptian to Late Egyptian to Demotic to Coptic, right? What's important to note here is that this progression of speaking, this progression of spoken language is a lot like the progression of English throughout the years. It's less so that these are all separate languages and more like these are all the same language in a different time period. Or at least that's my understanding. Right, so this is the first thing that I want to establish from this entire like lesson thing. I'm learning about Coptic just as much as like anyone else that's watching this video or like the coming videos, God willing, that I'll make. Like I didn't study this. I didn't like go to school for it. I'm just like curious about it, and so I'm making this just to put what I know out there. So yeah, so from my understanding at least, these are all just the same language, just going through time and being changed up, you know? Like Demotic is Old English, and then Coptic would be like English, right? It's like that kind of difference. Whereas the writing system, I know a lot more about these. Uh, from hieroglyphics, well, first of all, hieroglyphics is the most popular or the most famous form of ancient Egyptian writing. It's like what pops into people's heads. It's like the stereotypical thing, right? And yeah, as time went on, the Egyptians wanted like an easier way to record things. Like even like scribes, it would be like difficult to write things because like hieroglyphics, you're basically writing a picture for every single thing that you're trying to like show. And so, there we go. So, from hieroglyphics, went to hieratic, which was this cursive form of hieroglyphics. This was just to make it easier, because like it was difficult to like write these to yeah, to draw these pictures for every little thing, and so they switched to hieratic, which would keep all of the symbols but just simplify them. So then, going from hieratic, you go to demotic, and here it's just a further simplification. It's not nearly as many symbols as hieratic. It's a much simpler writing system. But eventually, because like the Greeks and the Romans occupied Egypt, you would find more and more people who wanted to get like an education that would only learn how to read Greek. And so uh, from there, it just became a lot more difficult to keep the language alive, which is a really sad pattern that I've seen in Egyptian history, especially that once there's a new language introduced, and like once there's at least a little uh, friction to using the original language, the original just like dies out, right? It's a sad pattern, but like yeah, that's basically what was going to happen with Demotic. And so the if I remember correctly, it's like priests in the temple, especially, they really wanted to change the writing system to Coptic because people couldn't read Demotic, but the amulets that priests and stuff would like sell, those had inscriptions and stuff. So they switched over to Coptic, and so Coptic mixed the Greek writing system and took 7 letters from Demotic for all of the sounds that were in Greek, and yeah, they put it together, and then bam, there's Coptic. But the um the main issue really here is just that like people didn't have like a reason to learn Demotic, and so Coptic was formed in this environment where it had to conform to what everyone knew. It eventually became much more than just being like a language that conformed. Like it survived like a long time, but it did start out that way. Okay, so now dialects, right? So I'm gonna be honest, I don't know the dialects. I only know Bahiric and Sahidic, or like I only know of Sahidic. I don't actually know Sahidic. But these are the two most like known of dialects. And I'm just gonna be uh, super transparent here. If you're trying to learn Coptic in order to understand old writings, you're so much better off just learning Sahidic, because is that's what most people would be writing about if you're talking about the context of like um, monasteries and stuff, right? Because like you're out here, middle of Egypt, super like deserty, right? And so there are lots of monasteries, and so all of the monks there would have known Sahidic instead of, well, not instead of, but like what they would have used was Sahidic. On the other hand, if you're like me and you're just trying to understand the prayers in church, uh, Bahiric is the way to go, because Bahiric was used in all of Lower Egypt, and the Coptic Church was founded in Lower Egypt. So Bahiric's what's used. So uh, here we have two alphabets, right? On the left, we have the Coptic alphabet, and on the right, we've got the Greek. Now, the reason I like did this is just to show that like Greek and Coptic have similarities, because like whenever I've told people that Greek and Coptic have similarities, they haven't believed me, right? So here you can see there are, what's this, 24 letters in each one, right? 24 letters in each one, not not including the 7 demotic letters. But yeah, you can see the similarities definitely. Now, of course, like there are like obvious exceptions to this, right? Like if we go over here, Xe, right? The uppercase looks super funky over here in Greek, uh, but the lowercase looks very familiar if you're at all familiar with the Coptic, both uppercase and lowercase. So yeah, there's lots of similarity, and that's because, like said before, Coptic took the Greek and just kind of they adopted it, right? They adopted it for their own purposes, and then they added their own letters from Demotic, right? So These are vestiges of demonic. These are remnants, basically. And they just kind of Greekicized it. Uh, so yeah, whenever you know Coptic or whenever you know how to read Coptic, it's a very useful skill because then Greek is just getting used to the uppercase letters, even though it's like really not that difficult. You know, takes a bit of practice, but like if you know Coptic, you can learn Greek super easily. You can learn Russian. Like there are a whole bunch of languages that are based on the Greek alphabet that you'll just like have so much uh, easier of a time trying to learn them. So if I remember correctly, yeah, that's the end. So my main goal with this, right? Because like okay, so like my main goal with this like lessons just to get people to be able to understand Coptic. Uh, hopefully you develop some sort of like pride when you're learning this, because like this like the Egyptian language, you know, like this is ours. It wasn't I mean, the writing system was given to us, but like the language itself, the spoken language that you're using in church, that you're using to pray, that was like handed down to us. And so I personally would love to learn this and use this in my like personal life, just like everyday life. But I don't know how to. And so this can be, first of all, my way of enhancing my skill, and another thing of like, it's going to be a way to spread the knowledge that I learn from just like my own personal research. So thank you for uh, taking time out of your days to listen to this video. I hope that you end up loving Coptic as much as I do, and I hope that this series will end up doing lots of good for lots of people. Thank you. Have a good day.